Oh, where am I? Can you see
You're
me?
there. Yeah.
Oh, I can't. Oh, I can see my video now. It's freaked out. Thought I was disappearing. What's happening? Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. We are waiting for Eric to hop on here. And then we'll get the show started. But welcome back to the hot seat. You guys know the deal. Like, subscribe, share with your friends, send this podcast to your mom. And if you guys want to be on the hot seat, you can apply to be on the hot seat. And we'll have you on. Eric, how are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I love it when the guest shows up with a good mic. This is great.
I have a buddy that does podcasts all the time. So he was like coaching me up through the weekend.
He's like, it's like, I'm not letting you go in there and look like a JV.
Yeah, literally. It's like how I feel like when people go on vacation and they drop in places. I'm like, don't embarrass us.
Oh, that's great. Well, Eric, Carla, CrossFit Conductor, welcome to the show, man. Happy to have you on here, man.
Yeah, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, you got it, dude. So, thank you to your buddy for hooking you up with. Listen,
Yeah.
listen, we're here. What's the name of his podcast? Let's just give his podcast a shout out, just because.
Well, actually, yeah, I was. Now I'm gonna blank on it. He's gonna kill me. It's Joey Police and God, I can't even remember the name of his podcast. Topic of Choice. There it was. Okay. I only couldn't remember it because I needed to.
That's all right. That's all right. Well, thank you, Joey. We appreciate you, my friend. Because this actually does make the show better. For anybody that's going to start a podcast, audio over everything. So even if you have shitty video, if the audio is good, people will listen and watch it. So audio is king. But cool. So you're in Kentucky.
Yeah, Lexington.
Okay, Lexington. Yeah. Okay. I don't know if you're currently in Kentucky, but I know your affiliate is in Kentucky. So give us your CrossFit story, man.
Yeah, and stop me if the rabbit hole goes too deep with it, because it's kind of long. But the gist of it was
no such thing, Eric. No such thing. Yeah. Have you met or listened to this podcast? Do you know who my partner in crime is?
Yeah, good point.
Yeah, it couldn't possibly be worse than him. So feel free.
So I'm originally from Chicago. That's where I met my wife, and ended up in Lexington because we have 3 daughters now. But when our second daughter was born, living in Chicago wasn't as great anymore. So she threw out like, would I ever consider moving to Lexington? And then before I was finished saying yes, I think our bags were packed and we were down here. So we've been down here since 2007 now. So we've been here for a while. But before we moved down there, I had been working out in my garage. I had been following a little bit of everything, like a little bit of CrossFit, a little bit of Jim Jones. Got really big into kettlebells.
Jim Jones, this one I haven't heard in a while.
Yeah, that's a reference, isn't it? But that was right around that time was like when that movie 300 came out.
How many times have you done that workout 300?
Oh, I don't even know.
I've done it quite a
probably
few times.
Too many. Yeah. But that was one of the big. But that was before the days of like there weren't as many hero wads, there weren't as many options back then.
Right.
So that's what everybody did. But was really into kettlebells, and I liked the kettlebells because you didn't need a lot of equipment. And to be honest with you, I don't think I had ever really done anything barbell outside of like bench and squat and all that stuff. So had done that, and as a way to thank me for moving to Lexington, my wife was like, you need to like open up like a gym space. But I had another full-time job. I was a teacher. So I had, what's that?
What'd you teach?
I was a PE and health teacher.
Oh, so same space.
Yeah. So when we moved down here, though, I couldn't find a teaching job. So I was working in construction management, which I had like a mild background in through like going through school and stuff, just working. And I rented a space from the guy that my boss, he had like a warehouse place where they just stored all the equipment. And so I rented from him like maybe 500 square feet. And it was like mats, and it was people paid me to come and work out with me, but not like it wasn't to make money. It was like to pay my rent. And then every once in a while, if I had a little extra money, like I would buy more kettlebells or something like that. So we did, back to that Jim Jones reference, all of our workouts were like 45 minutes long. And it was basically like go until somebody died. So we were doing that. No, and I tried. At first I would test them out. Yeah, we had two guys. One was in his mid 60s and another guy was pushing 80. And I thought for sure one of them was going to die, and they never did. So
You're like, it wasn't for lack of trying that nobody died. We definitely tried to kill people.
no, yeah, because after once they got some workouts under their belt, I was like, okay, they can handle it. And then it became like trying to destroy them. But
that's
so
okay. Go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
So so what kind of are you doing the programming at this point? Just out of curiosity, let's go down this rabbit hole.
Yeah,
So like
and
you
it
guys
was
you're into Jim
literally
Jones. Are you kind of are you getting pulling stuff off the website at this point? By the way, that was like an old school, really rough, like type. I'm pretty sure it was like a type form website, Jim Jones, and it just had that just that black website with the white logo on it, and it was like very cryptic back in the day.
Yeah, and then another reference, those were the guys that trained the guys from the movie 300. So
Right.
that alone like bought me into it. But yeah, I was programming, but it was like my programming was like I showed up like 15 minutes before class and then wrote out whatever I thought was going to be great. And I built a rig out of like plumber's pipe. It's actually probably still in that warehouse. Yeah.
Nice.
So I had like this makeshift rig and then a lot of kettlebells and stuff. And yeah, and I was programming, but like I said, I would program enough for like 45 minutes worth of work.
Were you coaching at this point? Or are you literally just like, come in here and we're going to throw down together?
No, I don't know if it was really coaching. I worked out with everybody. So like I did my workout too. Yeah, no. So it was more of like, just so everybody understood what the workout was.
Got it.
So yeah, so no, I was doing it with them. And then we had my two oldest daughters at the time. Our third wasn't around yet. And we were at like a kindergarten open house or something like that. And a guy approached me whose kids were also in that class. And through the grapevine, he had heard that I was doing that thing out there, and him and a group of guys were opening a CrossFit. And so there were 7 of them, but only one was going to be a coach. So they were looking for coaches, and they were like, "Are you interested?" And much like my wife getting us to move to Kentucky before he was finished, I'm like, I'm in. I hated being by myself all the time.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. Well, and yeah.
By the way, while you were talking about that, I just went on a little internet, rabbit hole down there. Like they have that's still a thing. I don't know why I thought it wasn't, but Jim Jones is a fully functional website, still selling programming.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know that, like Mark Twight, he's I think it's fair to call him. I think an alpinist is probably a fair. Like he's done a tremendous amount of climbing. His background was he was an alpinist. Incredibly intelligent guy. Yeah, incredibly intelligent guy. Very, very.
You're pulling it up.
Dude, it's hilarious. But yeah, this was kind of a big, and he used to sell a lot of military programs and some other stuff. And my memory is pretty spotty about this, but very much targeted, at least back in the day. I don't know what it is now, but the back in the day targeted towards like endurance and military athletes.
Yeah, that's how I always described it. I described it. It was like it was CrossFit endurance all the time.
Right. Yeah, the volume was super high. All the time durations were super long. Well, long relative to CrossFit, like the typical
CrossFit relative to CrossFit workouts.
But that was quite a blast from the past, man. That's cool. So how many people are you working with at this point, or trying to kill? How many people are you trying to kill at this point?
Anywhere between like 5 to 10, like that people would come. And I held like one workout.
Murderer.
Yeah. And I don't even think, trying to remember, I think I had workouts on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then one on Saturday. And that was it. And like I said, I wasn't doing it to make money. I was doing it because I wanted a place to work out. And that there's just people that were dumb enough to come along with me.
That's great. Actually, this brings up a conversation, like many conversations that I had. I was at the affiliate summit. So number one, if you are one of the, I have so many questions. Lots of people register for the affiliate summits and then don't show up. Like the one in DC had a tremendous turnout. I think there was like 160 people there. It was fantastic. If you guys have the ability to go to the summits, go to the summits. Like, I don't know. I would never register for something and then not go. I think that's so weird.
We went, my wife and I went to the one in Nashville that just happened about a month ago.
Yeah, we could not make that one because Jay and I were in Puerto Rico, but we were supposed to go, and then we had a conflict. We did a level 2 in Puerto Rico, and then we did like an impromptu affiliate summit for all the all the box owners in Puerto Rico down there. It was great.
Yeah, and I would
The
reiterate what you just said, that if you're an affiliate owner, go. It was
yeah,
just to get out of your own four walls and talk to other people. You know,
tremendous
I
amount of
don't think there's
value.
yeah, and I don't think there's any like one thing that I walked away was like, oh my God, this was the best. But just the small things that you can pick up just with talking with other people.
Well, the longer you do this, that becomes how it works. Like there's when you're new early on, like there's a couple of like you're like, oh my God, that was groundbreaking for me. And then the longer you do this, there's like you pick up, it becomes nuance. You pick up a piece of an idea that
Yeah.
then now becomes something that you work off of. So yeah, Nicole Carroll was there. Yeah, she just gets everybody fired up. I was joking with all the attendees that like every time I hear her talk, I want to go fight crime. Like
Yeah.
she gets it, man. Like she's just the perfect person. So she's the I don't even remember what her new role is. I know she wants to change her name, but she's I talked to her this past weekend, and she's definitely going to come on the podcast. So we got to get that ironed out. But yeah, the whole point was like, go to the summits. You won't regret it. It's a good, I think it's a good professional development hoop that everybody should jump through. Even if you're like, I don't have time to go. That is a scarcity mindset. You can learn something. It will be worth your time. And you should just get in the habit of going to those things.
The other thing, and I hate this, but I hate listening to affiliate owners bitch about that CrossFit doesn't do anything for them. Well, when they do it, if you don't show up.
Yeah. And yes. And here's what I'll tell you. I definitely can't speak for other people, but what I will tell you is there is some degree of that still happening at the summits. And some of it is, I think, is a little bit justified, but a lot of it is I think it's misplaced frustration.
For sure. 100%.
Due to lack of understanding of one's own problem is what I would tell you. You know, people come in there like, I need this and this is not happening for me. And I'm just like, oh, well, I remember that when I didn't actually know what my problem was. And that's what you see a lot is they're like, I want this. And I'm like, oh, that's actually a coaching problem. You think it's this, and it's actually, you need to work on coaching. So, but it's there, but it's definitely not the majority, right? It's like a little bit you'll hear it. There's a little bit in the Q&A that they do just to kick the weekend off. And the rest of it is like super positive and a lot of good interaction. So, I think, again, I would strongly encourage everybody to go. There are at least another, what month is it? We're in April. So there's at least another 8 this year, bare minimum, in the continental United States. And we're working on trying to make it to a couple that are overseas as well. So, and hopefully we'll see you there, either myself or Jay. In there, they also made an announcement. I can say this because this is, because they said it there. So this is not secret, but in very short order, CAP will be included in your affiliate fee. So anybody that's using CAP out there and paying for it, that will very soon not be the case. So
really,
yeah,
that's sweet.
Breaking news. Bury the lead. That's what we do here,
right?
Okay, so you're working out at your gym, or it's a gym at this point. I wouldn't call it maybe a functional gym, but like how long are you doing this before you're like, I think I'm gonna affiliate and start an actual CrossFit box?
Well, never. So I'm doing that, and I'm probably doing it for like 2 years, and then I'm at this preschool open house for my kids, and a guy approaches me, and he says he's got this group of other people. His kids they're in the same class as my kids, and he's got a group of friends, and they want to open a CrossFit, and they're looking for a coach. And they go, would you be interested in doing that? I said, I'm in. So and you know how everybody says like, oh, I've made every mistake that you could possibly make. We literally, like I have throughout my CrossFit affiliate owner career, have literally done every single thing that you can. And the first one being, we opened a CrossFit with 8 people. There's 8 partners involved. Only 2 of us were coaches.
8. Okay, 8 partners is different than 8 people.
Yes.
I thought you meant 8. I was like, I know gyms that open with no members.
Oh,
like,
no. Yeah, no.
Partners.
Sorry. Yeah, I just misspoke. No, 8 partners.
So when you decide to undertake this endeavor, do you break out the checklist of don't do's and you just start like ripping down that list, or how do you decide?
Yeah, literally. Like no, we had kind of the one thing we did do, we did have a like a partner's agreement, but it had nothing to do with responsibilities, like what everybody was going to do. It was kind of just more like, what's the buy-in part of it? So everybody threw money in, and it wasn't that much money, but everybody threw money in a pot, and we had no game plan after opening the doors, like none. So that's how it went. But it ended up working. That affiliate is actually still around.
Or how many partners at this point?
That I have no idea. I have no idea what.
You're like, I'm out of here, guys. You guys can sort this out.
No, actually, where it came down to, there was a couple people. So people dropped off, and I think at the time I left, there might have been 5 partners around, and I went up to the group and asked to buy them out.
Okay.
And they're like, well, we'll talk about it. And so the next day they came back and they said, no, we want to buy you out. And my initial response, I was like, no, oh my God.
You can make checks payable to Eric.
That's what it should have been. But my initial response, I'm an idiot. I was like, F you guys. I'm not doing that. And then my wife finally was like, just think about it.
Don't be a dummy.
It wasn't anything that like what they were doing was wrong. I wanted to do it full time, and I wanted full time because I kind of was on top of my other full-time job. And I thought there was things that you had to do to make that different. And they had differing opinions, which is fine. Like that, I'm not saying that either one was correct, but it was a good exit for me.
Well, if you think about it, you're getting paid to leave a bad scenario. It's kind of like,
okay. Yeah. And it was only bad. It was only bad on my end. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with what they were doing. It just wasn't.
It's bad for everybody because in a business venture, that's not going to work out for all 8 people. So by its very nature, it's a bad deal. Yes. And bad deal doesn't always mean there's malice involved. It just means like, this is not a good deal.
Yeah.
Okay. So you leave. And actually, when you guys were there, if you guys had to cover a topic like being open on Sundays, how would that work between 8 partners?
It didn't really. There was me and one other guy that basically made any kind of decisions like that. So it was just between he and I. And that's where some of the friction was. There's people that had other full-time jobs, never intended to want to really do anything with it, just thought it would be cool to own a gym.
Because I believe Judy had a question. Why are most CrossFit gyms not open on Sundays? Yeah, Judy Reed. Were you guys open on Sundays, Eric?
No, we weren't.
Why weren't you open on Sundays? I can't believe you guys would not want to help people.
Right. I know. You know what, though?
You were never open on Sundays?
No, I don't think we had a better reason other than that at the time. And that was just the norm. You know what I mean? We just kind of followed what everybody else was doing. And that was I think it's way more common now that they're open on Sundays. But at that time, nobody was open on Sundays.
I have found that it's to some degree, it's a little bit like regional. So in a lot of areas, like in the South or in region, or like in areas where like church is a big deal, like just people are just like, no, you just don't do that on Sunday. So like you're closed, like in the South.
And that's the case here.
Right. Yeah. Because you guys are like, Kentucky's the South, right? Like, and I think that's what, and so it kind of like, it's a little bit more accepted there, where in other areas are like, no, you just do it. But to answer your question more specifically, Judy, most of them are closed in that scenario because it's just an untenable, unsustainable threshold for the box owner who's doing everything. And they're just like, I don't want to work 365 days a year, is far more often than not the reason that they close. Now, because back in the day, they didn't have things like 24-hour access. I mean, it wasn't readily available. We had 24-hour access. Some people could make it work, but it wasn't. That's becoming a little bit more common in CrossFit gyms, and there's ways to work around that. We don't do it here at CrossFit Rife because I don't want the staff to do anything that I don't want to do. And I think it's okay to only be open 300 days of the year instead of 365 days of the year. So
yeah, and I to be honest with you, I think that's what I follow as well too. I don't want to. You hit it on the nail on the head. I don't want to ask them something that I don't want to do.
And then the other reason, because like we typically do have like somebody comes in and does like one of the coaches will come in and do like a overhaul clean on Sundays. And when the members would come in, it would be impossible for the coach to clean. So they would be cleaning and people would just be like, essentially like unintentionally following them around and making a mess of everything they just cleaned. And and it would drive people nuts. Yeah, I appreciate that, Judy. That's because, just so Judy said, I was just curious. Makes sense. Love that you don't want the staff to do anything you wouldn't do. Yes, Judy, that's because I worked for shitty leaders back in the day, and I remember those types of things where they had me do things that they would never do, and I just didn't. I hated being a whipping boy, so I refuse to do that too. I'll never do any. I'll never ask people to do something I either have not done or would not do myself.
You want me to do what?
Yeah, that's crazy. You want me to work 400 days this year? Literally not even possible. It's like, because you're not trying hard enough, Cody. So you leave, you get paid to leave this crappy deal.
Yep.
And then you're like, I'm going to do it by myself. How does that kick off?
Well, before that happened, back to the mistakes, I had opened another affiliate in a neighboring town with a different group of people, while simultaneously
we're like, checklist, I'm going to do it.
Oh, yeah, I wasn't lying to you. And then simultaneously, I was working at a small college just north of Lexington in the city of Georgetown, Georgetown College, and I started a nonprofit affiliate in their fitness center there.
Oh,
so God. I technically had 3 going on at once. And then yet I wanted to buy my partners out.
I'm going to dub you the worst affiliate owner of all time, Eric.
Literally. And
like, we've had some bad affiliate owners and that I've talked to, but Eric's like, hold my beer, everybody. Watch this.
No, yeah, literally. And that's not even, we haven't even gotten to it all yet. So if I've already got the award, just buckle up.
Yeah, I've literally, it's right here. I got this trophy for you.
Yeah, so I tell everybody, and I don't know if it's funny. I try to be funny when I say it, but I've either owned or been kicked out of every CrossFit in Central Kentucky.
How many? So like, how many?
I've worked at them all. 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I've coached them.
We don't have to go through the full list, but here's I will ask you what's the one mistake that you truly, so there's mistakes you're like, I don't really regret that, there's just no working around it, but like, do you have one you're like, I actually truly regret that one?
No, nothing that, you know what I mean, small stuff regret. Maybe how I left the one, like, because I put it nicely. I said I told them to F themselves, but it was a little bit more aggressive than that. But no, because to be honest with you, all of that, I kind of look at it as that's how I ended up where I'm at now. And I'm super happy where I'm at now. And then I finally realized that, when that scenario keeps bringing up that I'm not happy with where I'm at, the only common denominator was me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it wasn't everybody else and what they wanted to do. It was just a differencing from what I wanted to do.
Right. So what was that? Why are you so happy now versus then?
Because I think it always stemmed down to wanting to do it full time, and the goal to not only me doing it full time, but also having a gym that could sustain full-time coaches. And so that's my ultimate goal.
Okay. So it's your full-time gig now. How many part-time coaches do you
have? 3 right now. I had 4, but she just left within 2 weeks. She just kind of had life circumstances and had to go. She moved on to a full-time position.
Got it.
So 3 currently.
Okay. So that being said, tell me a little bit about the affiliate. So if you're going to talk about CrossFit Conductor, which I'm actually kind of shocked. How long have you had that affiliate, Eric?
2.5 years.
That is shocking to me that name was available. Honestly, I feel like that was a name that somebody had, and then they went out of business and it became available again.
It must have been because it wasn't the original name, and I thought I had done my due diligence on looking, and I was waiting to affiliate, because I didn't want to have to pay the fee right away. And then when I went to affiliate, they're like, "No, there's a CrossFit that's close to that in Australia." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Okay.
So then it was like the 11th hour. I actually threw something out on social media asking for suggestions, and that's what somebody threw back.
CrossFit Conductor.
CrossFit Conductor. Yeah, and there's a saying that there's nothing as unstoppable as a train full of fuck yeah, and I like that. So ooh. I was like, there it goes.
I think Cody and I are going to go ahead and agree with that statement. That is yeah. That's a statement that could also be described as a fact.
I like that one.
Yeah. All right. So You open the affiliate, so you're opening this on quite literally on the back of the world's greatest shit show that is COVID.
We signed our lease on like March 1st of 2020.
Oh,
then the world
you're
shut.
like, you know what? I'm going to beat this by 1 week.
Yeah.
Hold both these beers, everybody. Watch this.
Right? Well, actually, that actually worked out okay because everything shut down except Lowe's, and there's a Lowe's right next door to me. So I had 3 months. I just did all the build out myself. So I had 3 months of like uninterrupted. Didn't really matter.
Dude,
because
you
nobody
should
was
have
doing
just been
anything
like,
anyway.
oh, you should have just stayed open and be like, oh, no, this is part of Lowe's. This is CrossFit Lowe's.
Well, yeah. Well, to be honest with you, we didn't. Once I had the space ready, we opened up. We didn't wait. We just kind of tried to fly under the radar. We just didn't make a big deal. I didn't do any social media stuff. We didn't do like a grand opening. So that was tough to get around though. You know what I mean? Because I had all these big plans of like opening the doors with X number of members. I opened the doors with 2. And there were people that I had previously trained before.
I mean, it's better than 0, I guess, but still a rough start. So how long, because it's different everywhere. So how long in Lexington are you guys like hard shut down when all this kicks off?
Not really. It was never
like
really hard shut down. Yeah, because going back to that geographical region, we were a part of the country, and Tennessee just south of us. Tennessee was like Florida. They were like, screw you, we're not following anything.
Yep.
So Kentucky wasn't that crazy about it, but to be honest with you, it was not like the rest of the country.
Yeah, we were probably the same. Where like we played for like a month and a half, maybe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah.
Once we kind of like made the determination that it like wasn't what everybody thought it was.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Right, we're moving on from this. Okay. So once you get to the point where you're like, all right, I'm going to open, how long does it take you to get some steam?
About 3 months ago. No.
Oh, really?
we have literally from the opening. So here's the other thing. So I'm a really small space. I have 1,800 square feet and maybe 1,300 to 1,400 like usable floor space. And so I also I had my space.
So for anybody that's looking, just based on that square footage, we are probably looking at almost the entirety of your gym in the background. Is that fair?
Yep. Yeah. Okay. And that little thing over my shoulder with all the whiteboards on it, that's our locker room. I'm actually in the process of taking that out because we actually need more room. So my goal is to maximize, like this place needs to be busting at the seams before we ever move.
Is that rig up against the wall or no? It's got to be. Okay. Yeah. As I say, it's based on that square.
Yeah. So we're going to take that locker room out over my shoulder and then continue another rig on that side as far down as it goes. There used to be an office above there as well that I did office like stuff.
Got it.
Which is me.
So you had like a Tundra, or not a Tundra, what am I blanking on that?
Mezzanine.
Mezzanine. Yeah. Thank you, Cody.
Yeah. But it was like fully enclosed though. So I've ripped that part off.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So kind of walk us through, tell us about the affiliate. What's it like? How do you guys run it? Give us the visual, if you will. Paint us a story.
So I told you about the, 1,800 square feet, probably 1,300 square feet, like actual floor space. We currently have 68 members, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but like when I was opening, so I knew my space size and I knew ballpark, like how many people like I would be at capacity, and then did the math backwards on what do I want to make? If I want to be able to do this in this space, then what do I need to charge? Instead of doing the, you know what I mean, what everybody does, like what's the guy down the street charge? And either do the same or something like that. So we're also the most expensive CrossFit in Lexington. So smaller member base, but then that keeps our classes at, like, if I had to give you an average, like 8 to 10 people. And then I started with
a day.
How many classes a day? We're up to, so we started off, I only had 4 every day. And then
that makes sense.
Yeah. And 1 on the weekends. And now we're up to 5 on most days and 6 on 6 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And we've added those just because of the need to.
Right. So what's that schedule look like? What are the class times throughout the day?
5:30 a.m., 7 a.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and 8:30 a.m., noon, 4 o'clock, and 5:30 p.m. And only one on Fridays.
That's just your
in the
Thursday
evening.
schedule, though. The other days you're missing.
Yeah, that's a Tuesday. That's a Tuesday, Thursday schedule. Monday.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Monday is just that 5:30 a.m., 8:30, noon, 4, and 5:30. So there's 5 on those days.
The noon one I find to be interesting, with only 5 class, or only like 5 or 6 on the day. I wouldn't think that you would have a noon in there, but interesting. And then how does that 7 a.m. perform?
Actually, not bad. It ebbs and flows. It's on life support right now. Like, I'm
It's a weird block of
the
time if you're a working individual, where like if you had to be at work at a certain time.
Yeah, but I had
morning.
some people though that they had a couple people that wanted something a little bit earlier than 8:30 so that they could get it done. Like if you didn't have kids, or your kids were, some people put their kids on the bus and get them off to school and then come right to that.
You're like,
7
yeah,
a.m.
5:30 is earlier than 8:30. See you there.
Yeah. So, but that's why I did it 2 days, and it went with the caveat of, if this doesn't perform over the next couple months, it will be eliminated. You know what I mean? I just made that super clear up front, because I'm not a super fan of having to take classes away, but I threw that out there.
I mean,
if it
doesn't
work,
it doesn't work.
Yeah. And that 4 p.m. class, we did the same way. We tried it 2 days a week, and it's super popular. So then it became the whole week.
Interesting. So you go 4 p.m., 5 p.m. I'm curious if you were to add a third class, if you might be better off in the evening. Because when you said you had 5 classes and you started listing the morning classes, I was like, does he have any in the afternoon? As you were listing the times out. I'd be curious if you were to like repurpose that 7 to the afternoon and do something like a 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, or a 4, 5, 6 potentially might be a better option to capture.
Yeah, and that might be
kind
something
of like
that
9 to 5ers.
You know what? I think one of the best things that I've learned over the years is to not be, just because you're doing something one way, don't be afraid to change it. That's probably one of the biggest like muscles that I've grown over the years.
So this was that you can take that the opposite, too far the opposite direction as well. So this is something I learned when I played, because Ackerman's going to love this, but there's a story behind this. So when I played basketball in college, our coach was a complete dunce, and he would run through starting lineups like the world was ending. Like if we were to play 30 games that year, there'd be 35 starting lineups, and you're like, that doesn't make sense. And I'm like, correct, none of it made sense.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, and I've seen this quite a bit, and I've been that person at more than a few occasions where, so yes, you need to be willing to shift. But if you shift too much, meaning like if you're changing things all the time, then nothing changes.
Oh yeah, for sure. And like with your basketball, with the basketball analogy, that you don't give anything enough time to see if it sticks or if it actually really works.
Right. And that was one of the things I had to learn early, was just like, oh, you need to have like some degree of patience, and then what's your watermark for success or failure when you're going to make a change, rather than just making change because you're like, oh, this doesn't work. And I'm like, based on what? Like, how did you determine what failure was? So, okay. So what are you guys really good at? Are you like, you have a super skill of any sort?
Yeah, I think my super skill, like if I had to give you a superpower myself personally, it's that bringing somebody in that absolutely thinks they can't do CrossFit and showing them that they can.
So
and that's part of
what's that? You've just put your finger on a nerve for, I don't know, anybody that has ever been in a CrossFit affiliate. So enlighten the listeners on what somebody with that superpower does to make that happen.
I don't know. It probably just comes from like my teaching background. And I also used to coach high school football. And there was like on a football team, you had kids that they responded really well to getting their, you know what I mean? The kick in the ass. Other kids that if you did that same approach to them, they would, they're going to quit. You know what I mean? So being able to figure out like who needs what and when they need it, and being able to read people, you know what I mean? Do you need a little bit of a push? Do you need a little, like, are you scared shitless when you're walking in the door, which is the majority? We've also got, and I think it's because of the smaller class sizes, we also have a lot of our members are members that had like, and they just didn't fit out. Nothing against the affiliates that they were at, but larger affiliates, larger class sizes, they get lost. And like that person that's looking to hide, you know what I mean? They want to do this stuff, but at the same time, they're going to hide in a class in the corner. Well, there's nowhere to hide here. So you're going to get exposed.
Right. So this is something like, so for, if we were to project into the future, right? Like at some point you would have to move into a larger space. That would be something to be aware of. Right. And this is it's like there's certain things you can't be aware of until you actually go through them. So you have some things to your advantage, which is like you're forced kind of into smaller classes, and just from a proximity standpoint, nobody can move too far away from you inside of the class. If you go to a larger space, that can create handicap for you as a coach. And if you start in a large space, you're not even aware of the handicap, meaning this is something where I'd be like, that's a coaching issue, meaning if I'm not getting to everybody, there's something wrong with my plan or my skill set with regard to group management. Kind of like when we talked to Steve Haydock last week about the level 2 and the, what's one thing you could do to improve presence and attitude is like use names. And if you focus on something like that, it becomes really apparent to you as the coach if you're actually making the rounds and you're getting to every single person, if you're using the names, even if in a class of 15, 20, 22, it's something you need to keep in the back of your mind. Oh, I've not said Cody's name in 27 minutes. Like I need to get over there and interact with Cody. And that's what I call like who's the blank man in your class? Like who's the athlete that moves just well enough to like unintentionally get ignored? That's the person you need to go find. And the only way to remind yourself that I need to get to Cody, because he's a good mover, he's a competent athlete. I've done my job with Cody and I've put him in a position where he can be a little bit autonomous. I haven't used his name. And I look over and I'm like, oh shit, I need to get over there and interact with Cody. So,
when it first came out, I went out to Boston and did Denise Thomas's coaching development program. Nice. And I thought that was one thing that they did really well, like with putting us through the ringer of super easy to bring in and pay attention to the person that doesn't know what you're going to do. And they had, at that time, there were some pretty high level athletes that were working out there. And it was at the Reebok headquarters. And
at the original Reebok headquarters. Yeah. It's a huge space. Yep.
Yeah. And they were like, okay, tell Jim how can you help him in this workout? And I was like, I don't have a clue. You know what I mean? Like, how am I going to tell him? And then Austin made this really good point. So he's doing wall ball shots. And I'll never forget this. So the guy's doing wall ball shots, super high level athlete, like at the time, you know what I mean? Like regional level athlete, and would do well there. And Austin went up to him and told him, don't squat so low on your wall ball shot. Now I know you always want to hit below parallel, but if you're going ass to ankles, somebody that's hitting parallel, they're going to beat you on the wall ball. And if you're a competitive athlete, you know what I mean? So it's like that little thing that he said has stuck with me. So I always think that athlete that you were just saying, how can I make them better? You know what I mean? Like what's something, so like with them, I'm going to talk a little bit more strategy of the workout. You know what I mean? Because they care. They care about how can I get through it a little bit quicker.
Right. That's what you just outlined there is like the very tangible, feedback for somebody who's like, they're a good mover. And I'm like, right. But if this was a competition, so like there has to be like a point at which you like switch your strategy as a coach, which is like their mechanics are on point. There's nothing wild happening here. Oh, strategy, right? Be like, drop your hands on the wall ball. You don't need to leave them extended. Right. Cycle that barbell. You don't need to do a full reset on the push jerk. Just go boom, right into the next one and speed those up. Sweep your knees back when you bring the barbell down on the clean, so you don't have this weird, crazy barbell, like that kind of stuff. So if you guys are coaching, for those that are listening, if you've got somebody that's a pretty good mover, I'm still going to coach them on movement, but I'm going to start looking at like, if they were trying to really get after it, how could I squeeze 5% out of this? And it might be something like that, which is like, yes, you can squat ass to ankles, but it's not necessary right here. Just get below parallel. And then you're going to actually have a better workout here. So what do you do for new people? So when you talked about like bringing somebody who would never do CrossFit, what's your approach? Do you have like an outline, or could you describe that?
Yeah. Yeah. So like most people, my goal is always when anybody like submits their like an inquiry, like their info, I want to get them on the phone, or I hit them with everything that I can, email, text, phone, figure out what they want. I want to get them in. I want to get them in face to face. Cause then if I can get them through the door, that will, one, it lets me, you learn a little bit about what they're looking for. You know what I mean? Are we a good fit for you? And then from there, like if they have no CrossFit experience, and I've gone from 8 classes, 12 classes, no classes getting people on, but I've kind of settled in at 4. So we do 4 one-on-one sessions with them and come in.
Okay.
And that's usually where you figure out, like, that's where you can show somebody that, you know what I mean? You can do this. Like if you got somebody that can't even hang from their body weight from a bar, and there's pull-ups in a workout, that person's scared shitless before they come in. So that's kind of the process of where I take them through and go, okay, so we're not just going to stick you on ring rows forever, but we're going to show you how you can progress through this. And to me, that's just the downfall of the larger classes. And that's where those people fall through the cracks and I get it. I coach those classes.
So Jonathan's question is, your on-ramp still a thing? Yes, Jonathan, then they absolutely should be. How you design them is the key. So you do 4 sessions. Do you mind kind of walking us through, like, what do you do in those 4 sessions?
So I try to hit the main things. Like I want to see you squat. I definitely want to put a barbell in your hand. I tend to lean towards the barbell stuff just because that, from what I've seen, that's what people are least familiar with. You know what I mean? So we come in, and I try to use like the warm-ups as just other ways that we can touch on things. So like the very first one, you come in, you get on a rower. We do a 500-meter row as a warm-up. As you're doing that warm-up, I'm talking you through rowing mechanics. I'm showing you the damper. I'm showing you how to change it from calories to meters. By the time we're done, you've rowed 500 meters. And then we go into a progression of a deadlift, into a hang clean, into a power clean. And then we just do a small workout at the end. It's like a little 10-minute workout. And then I try to structure those. Say that again.
What's the workout?
Oh, so then the workout is like, we start them off with an AMRAP, explain to them what that is, get a 10-minute clock, and they do a 200-meter row. Once they get off, they do 2 power cleans, or if they needed to, that maybe it's just a hang clean. And they go back and forth, and they add 2 reps of the clean to every round just to get them through. And so I try to structure every onboarding class to replicate exactly what a group class is going to look like, from the whiteboard briefing to the warm-up to the skill section to the workout. And then, so that first one we do time oriented, and then the next one we do task oriented. And so I take them through what they're going to see.
Are all of the workouts predetermined? So like if I join you, like every person that comes through is doing something similar.
Yeah. And but it kind of ebbs and flows with that individual. You know what I mean? Like some people,
as it should. Yeah. I should tailor it to that person. Yeah.
Yeah. And I always tell them that, and you start with the preface of intensity is 100% up to you, and I don't care about it. So you're not impressing me if you do it, but I want you to go. What I care about is that you're getting the gist of these movements. And I tell them that too. You can do these 4 classes and you're not going to be an expert at it, but the goal of those onboarding classes for them is to reduce that feeling of overwhelm when you do eventually step into that group class.
Do you use that term, overwhelm?
Yeah.
Are you open to some coaching, Eric?
I am. That's why I'm here.
Sweet. Okay. So this is something I learned from the adaptive course. So if you guys haven't taken the adaptive course, it's worth looking at. So the words that we use, right? So if I say, don't think about a perfect elephant, it's impossible. So instead of using something like overwhelm, right? It induces a feeling of overwhelm when I use that statement. So I would challenge you to, how else could you say that? What would be the opposite of overwhelm? Like what would be the preemptive thing that you would get them with that would set them up for success?
I guess the first thing that comes to my mind, the opposite of that would be like phrasing it that for you to get the most out of these classes, or to be the most comfortable in these classes, that's what we're going over.
Yeah, or familiarization or something like that. So a lot of times we don't even recognize how the verbiage that we use in some of those settings has a negative impact. which is like, hey, we want to do this so you don't get overwhelmed in the class. And automatically this paints this picture of like, do a lot of people get overwhelmed in the class? Like this seems even more scary now. So when we phrase things like that, I think, and these are the nuances in sales, I think. So things like that, trying to avoid verbiage is like, hey, if you can't do this, then we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Instead of saying like, if you can't do a power clean, we're going to do a hang clean. Instead of just saying, we're going to work with either a power clean or a hang clean, whichever one is going to be the most appropriate for you. Right. Things like that really start to like create this environment where they're like, oh, this person is completely crafting this for me as they work through, and they like clearly have everything dialed in. I also think it's worth noting for everybody to design your onboarding is like design workouts intentionally that are very unlikely to require heavy scaling.
Yeah.
Like pull-ups, for instance. It is highly likely that if you put pull-up in an onboarding workout, that you're going to do significant volume and frequency of scaling with regard to that movement. And I not that scaling is bad. You should actually know how to do that, but not there. I want to dial up wins and almost exclusively wins in the onboarding.
Yeah.
So in that scenario, like, so you have something similar to what we design, which is so you guys, what was the cardio movement? Was it a row?
Yeah. Row.
Yeah. Row. So we use an assault bike and then we use a kettlebell swing, but you have something very similar. So you're doing rowing and then a power clean or hang power clean.
Yeah.
Both of those are essentially what's your ability to like, have any sort of hip flexion and get into a movement. I like the kettlebell because it's significantly easier. I can use way lighter loads in something like that. And it gives me a ton of information that I can use for follow-on workouts.
Yeah.
So just a couple little tidbits there, man, just to kind of smooth those out, because in those sessions, I'm not trying to give like a ton of teaching. Like I need to get information, and a lot of that information has to do with psychologically, where is this person? I'm going to figure out
for sure
where they're at physically.
For sure. I see those things as rapport building as much as I do just getting them in there, like showing 100%. Them that like I really do care. You know what I mean? That you're here and I want you to be successful. That's the absolute biggest thing.
Yeah, I agree with you, Philip. The assault bike is yucky. However, it's super easy. And here's the other thing about it. It is the absolute telltale piece of equipment to figure out what somebody has with regard to work capacity. And it's not, not dangerous. Right. And it's one of those things where like so if I gave anybody this workout and this is why I designed this workout, I was like, what workout could I design that would, if you gave me literally any human being, I would be able to find out where their capacity and what they were good at, regardless of where they fell out in the spectrum. So we made something very similar. 10 minutes, not very long. 3, 6, 9, 12, keep going.
Yep.
Assault bike calories, kettlebell swing, right? Automatically super easy to scale. You can get everything from an 8-pound kettlebell to 55 if you really wanted to get nuts.
Yeah. And they make it as far as they make it.
Yeah. And I'm like, listen, if you think you're Superman, I'm just going to tell you to just light yourself on fire and send it. And if you can get into the round of 24, I've got a cookie waiting for you. At which point they get into the round of 21. They're literally on fire and their blood is boiling. And I'm like, all right, now I know what I need to know. However,
we do.
Somebody might need to take a break in the round of 9, at which point I've got the same amount of information.
Yeah, we do. We use the assault bike in a warm up for another one. And I do something similar, like when you're talking about like kind of determining their work capacity. So I throw it on that interval, that 20 on, 10 off, and let them just bike for the first 3, but then kind of take note of where they're at. And so if they're down at watts, if they were like at 100 and something, I say, okay, next round, let me see if you can get to 200. You don't have to stay there.
Right.
Just get there and come back and then keep working it up until they get that little sprint that they do. And then they have to back off on it. And then I just tell them the importance of pacing on that bike. But then I can also see by what watt they can get up to kind of where they're sitting at. You know what I mean?
Right.
If they're maxed out at 500, I know, okay, we're not going to kill you.
Yeah. There's some work capacity there. By the way, if you're not familiar with this, the whack pack, at least part of the whack pack is here, Eric, in the comment section. Trish, I'll be honest with you, Trish, we've had many internal debates about who you are and if you're like some guy that lives in his mom's basement or what. but we're all intrigued. But we love having you here, so don't ever leave us. But Trish is worried about you, Cody.
I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I'm paying attention to the chat that's going on over here.
Yeah, I don't. You lose control of your mind. Okay, so Eric, so it sounds like you've checked, at least for me, when I think about an onboarding, you've checked some pretty significant boxes, which is connect with them, make them feel seen and heard. That's very apparent that you're doing that.
Yeah.
Create awareness around what is it you can do. That's also in there. And then the integration piece. So I think that's super important. So I think that's and dude, we can have an endless debate on how many he might be high, Trish, we don't know. The number of sessions, and that's different for everybody. There's no like set number for that in my experience.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So that's what you're good at. What would you say that you struggle with?
So my biggest struggle is I kind of feel like I'm doing everything good and nothing really great. Well,
okay.
Here, I take that back. If I had to give you one thing that I think I do great, it's my classes. And I still, and the struggle there, and I think I know what the problem is. It's because I'm still in that point where I'm still doing so much of everything, right. But I have a light at the end of the tunnel with that. Like one of my part-time coaches, she's in the process of, and we meet regularly to talk about it, transitioning from what she's currently doing to more and more coaching over time. So like when winter comes, she's going to pick a little bit more up. And so just as she's going, she's picking more and more up, but just being spread too thin.
So I have a question. So with regard to you doing all the coaching, I was looking at the questionnaire that you put in there. Uh-oh, Cody's bringing in hardware. What's happening here? It said in here you're doing most homeless. I'm sorry, Cody. I'm sorry. It says here you're coaching 80 hours a week. Is that right?
No, that was probably for the month.
Oh, okay. All right. That
if I put that in there. Yeah. No, if I put that in there. No, that's probably what it comes out to per month.
Okay. So that makes more sense. So your greatest weakness is attention to detail. No, I'm just kidding. So what do you struggle with?
Probably with making sure that I'm communicating with my coaches the best that I can for being able to, like, so for me, like I said, I know I'm doing too many of everything or too much of everything. And then, bringing these coaches on to help alleviate, but then when I'm spread so thin, not giving them what they need to be able to become proficient enough to take on more classes.
Okay. So there's two things there. So we can go in one of two directions. One is communication. The other one is coach development.
Yeah.
I would err on the side of communication. It's easier to fix than coach development.
Yeah.
And actually would in turn make coach development easier for you long term.
Yeah.
So when you talk about communication, what about is it do you think that you could improve?
Just being more consistent with it. You know what I mean? Like communicating with them, doing a better job of doing coaches evaluations and not just saying that we're going to do them. You know what I mean? Going through and doing them in both ways, like them evaluating me evaluating them.
So two things here. So we'll just stick with coach development now. When you're talking about coach development, how many you have two other coaches, right?
3.
But one is leaving, so technically 2, right?
No, I had 4 and now I'm down to 3.
Sorry. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So how many coach evaluations do you do per month between all 3 of those people?
Yeah, right now 0. So coach evaluation would be me taking their class and saying something. It's not like a true, you know what I mean? It's not like a true coach evaluation like what we've done.
So what's stopping you from actually doing those?
Again, probably being too spread thin, and like when I'm not coaching, not wanting to go back to do another class. You know what I mean? But like that needs to be something that gets put in.
Yeah, so it's pay me now or pay me later, right? So I can continue to deal with this pain, or I can I can have a different pain, which I know has a result for a better outcome. And
Yeah.
for the record, on the top end, I would tell you 6 evals per month, 2 per coach per month, in order to get everybody up to speed.
Yeah.
I think that's a solid frequency. I mean, that would be people getting 24 pieces of feedback annually, which is 24 pieces of feedback more than most people get. So,
Yeah.
2 per class, and then put them in your calendar. Like, schedule them where they're most convenient for you so that you're gonna be there.
Yeah.
You know, because what it does is this will lighten the load, and it will negate any impact that would potentially result from you coming off of the floor.
Yeah.
Because one of the biggest mistakes is coaches leave, or owners start pulling themselves off of the floor without having done a true vetting / get people up to speed / quality assurance check on the replacement that comes up the floor. And the worst thing you could ever do, because your class is your number one retention tool, is create a significant gap between you or your primary coach and anybody else that steps on the floor. That is like the worst thing of all time.
Yeah. And that's like, and chalk that up to the list of mistakes made in the past. Like in the past, like we had looked for just warm bodies. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're L1, you're willing to do it, rock and roll, go ahead and do it. You know what I mean? And then you have no clue what that class is like.
Right. Well, this is kind of like Trisha's question here. Can you pull that up, Cody? Trisha's question is, what are the prerequisites for hiring new coaches? What does a perfect hire look like? So I would tell you, Trish, there is no perfect hire. And I think I looked at this through what I now at least see to be an incorrect lens, or a flawed lens, which is like, I'm looking for somebody who's got this thing, instead of understanding that it is my responsibility to make this person into what I want them to be. Right. So like, yes, there's certain characteristics that I would like for somebody to have. Like, I want them to be timely. I want them to be engaging. I want them to be respectful. I want them to be coachable. I want them to possess those qualities. Outside of that, I think people are looking for somebody to walk in and have what they need, instead of recognizing like, oh, that's my responsibility. My responsibility is to make that person what I want them to be. They're not going to come in and be that, very rarely. And I would argue that even in those instances, they would still need to be coached into the version of them that you would like them to be. So the coach development becomes a huge piece of that, which is like, if you want them to be good, you have to coach them to be good.
And I found too,
I think it's a turnoff for a lot of people.
The things that I always look for, and I don't remember where I heard this, but I heard it from somewhere. Like, do you want to, like, would you sit in a car ride with 5 hours with that person? Like, are they a good person?
We call it the airport test on seminar staff.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get stuck in the airport with you. And if I don't like you, this is not going to work.
And then my other thing that I look for, do you care about other people's fitness more than you care about your own? Because that's the other thing, is like, people get into coaching because they look at it as like, now I have free access to a gym and I can just train whenever I want. And the coaching part is just, well, I got to coach X number of classes every month so I don't have to pay for a membership. Like, that's huge to me. You actually have to really care.
But that can be all of those things that people were like, those things can be avoided with like, what's the expectation for coaching and how do you bring people in? Which is like, hey, you know, how do I set the stage for this? How many classes do you need to coach per month in order to stay here? How is this going to work? You know, how, and then fixing it with like, are you going to get regular feedback on your coaching? You know, and I do think there's a point where that starts to kind of, it won't need as much as your coaches get more experience, but everybody needs it. Everybody needs it still, but most of those things should be weeded out. Like all that stuff should be ferreted out before they ever make it on the team.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree.
But I would tell you is like, I would encourage a lot of you guys, if you have somebody who doesn't know their asshole from the hole in the ground, but checks all of the other boxes, that person would be a better hire than somebody who's pretty fit and is missing a couple of those core teammate components.
Yeah.
You know why?
I agree.
Because you can teach them the difference. You can teach them how to teach the air squat. You can teach them how to see lack of hip extension and how to fix it. What I can't teach them to be is somebody who gives a crap about other people and has good self-awareness in a group environment and understands that their tone is turning somebody off. Like, those things are really difficult to teach. Yeah. So that's where I think just like, be okay with somebody not being great at coaching and then be okay with like the time that it's going to take to make them a good coach, because long term, that's a significantly better product than somebody who's pretty good, but is missing all the components of the airport test. I'm like, that's a disaster. Do you let your coaches follow outside programming, or do they follow your programming? So I think, so the short answer is both. So I'll speak to CrossFit Rife only. Most of our coaches hop in the classes. Andy, who is one of our coaches in there, who coaches, I don't know, 10 classes a month, doesn't really do CrossFit. Like, he does a lot of weightlifting, but Andy has been here a long time and has been and was a CrossFitter for a long time before that. So he understands CrossFit, but he just wants to do weightlifting now. So he does weightlifting, but he still runs a great CrossFit class because he has those reps underneath his belt for CrossFit. If they want to do something else, I think that's okay. And this is where it gets a little bit gray. I think they should hop in the classes. If they never want to do that, I think that's a problem. If they think that hopping in the classes is going to set their fitness back, I think that's where we have a problem. If they're just like, oh, I can't do this, I can't get off of this program, and I'm like, that's a silly ass statement, and we have a problem now. It's not going to set your fitness back. You're undervaluing the benefits of being in the class. So that's my answer to that one. Here's what I think you should do, Eric. I think you should look at your calendar and you should start getting those evals on the calendar so that you know when they're coming.
Yeah.
And that way you're already ahead. Schedule
Yeah.
like anything else. And that way you're not like, fuck these evals, right? Like, you're going to be so grumpy about doing them because you're like, oh, that's what I got to go do today. This is my job. I'm going to do my job, which is not coach then the 8:30. It's eval the 8:30 or the 5 or whatever it might be. Because you're going to create a better product, at which point you can offload more classes. That's the big hiccup there. The whole purpose of inducing more short-term pain with regard to developing the coach's staff is to buy back your time with a quality product.
Yeah, exactly.
So 2 per coach per month, and people are for how long? And I'm like, for as long as it takes. Hey, that's not that much. 6 hours a month in coach development is pennies for getting a good coaching staff on the floor. Probably nobody can afford you, Trish. I don't even want to know what your rates are or what you would charge, because I have some feeling it wouldn't actually be money. So that, and then communicate with them. How do you communicate with them?
Oh, well, so that's the thing, is just making sure that it's not just all through, you know what I mean, texting and emailing them, that I am showing up and, you know what I mean, and seeing them in person.
Yeah. If anybody's interested in like communicating better with the team, Slack is a great tool for that if you set it up right. I'm not going to go in how to set up Slack, but if you set up Slack correctly, Cody can attest to this. We use it, but we use it right. I use it right inside of CrossFit Rife, and it's very effective if it is designed and used well. There will be somebody inside of the group, aka Jason Ackerman, who will bitch about people replying into the threads, but that's just because he's a narcissist and has some degree of OCD. So, okay. So let me see. Where does this go? Where'd that other question go about the, can you pull up Amanda C's question here, Cody? And we can kind of walk through this. How do you start coaches evals if they've never done before? So, Eric, if I was to be like, hey, I want you to do an eval this afternoon, would you have a format with which to do that?
Yeah, we have a sheet when they go in. Actually, every coach that I brought on, we kind of sit down and we do like a 30, 60, 90 day, like, this is what it's going to look like from, you're going to start off shadowing. You're going to go through, and I have to be honest with you, I stole the evaluation sheet from the coaches development course. So seeing, correcting, going through everything, you know what I mean? So it's so they know what the expectations are. So they start off. So that's where I think I slacked off, was once they make that 90 day, and it's like and we go into it going, hey, we're going to go into this thing at the end of 90 days. If you're not happy with what we expect out of you, awesome. You know what I mean? That's totally fine. But then on the flip side of that too, know that if we don't think that you're a good fit, you're going to do that. So they know. And they get evaluated before, so they've gone through. So we have a sheet with it, but
right.
But
so when you get through that 90 days, Yeah, when you're going through that 90 days, what is the outcome of that 90 days? So I get the feedback over 90 days. Is there like does it outline be like, hey, here are themes, here's our strengths and weaknesses, here's your follow-on plan?
Yeah, and it's just about going through, and when they're getting evaluated, when they start off, they're not doing full classes. Like they'll start off with like the whiteboard talk, and then they'll do the whiteboard talk, and then the warm up, and then they'll do like skill sessions, and then they'll do whole classes. So they've been evaluated like that whole time as they go through. Where I drop the ball is then like when I've let them off into the wild, then you know what I mean, and
Right.
not doing a good
So
job of
I hear
continuing those.
I hear what you're saying on the evals, but what I don't hear is, so let's just say you're coming through, or I'm coming through your kind of that process at CrossFit Conductor, and at the end of the 90 days, like, yep, I got my evals. But then there needs to be something that kind of like buttons that up, and you sit me down and be like, okay, cool. So you've made it through, you're good, but here's the trends, right? So one of the things that you're really good at is presence and attitude is off the charts. You understand how to manage the group and all that kind of stuff, but your teaching needs work, meaning like you talk quite a bit, and it's actually one of the things that's kind of like making your timeline harder to hit. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to work on the following evals. We're going to work on that specific aspect of your coaching, which is like, how do I make my teaching more effective? So there needs to be a pretty definitive outcome of that so that we can create a follow-on plan for like, how do I improve it? And to keep it simple, just keep it within the 6 criteria: teach, seek, correct, group management, presence and attitude, demonstration. And you don't need to recreate the wheel here, but you should be able to pretty cleanly extract something out of that.
Yeah.
So then I would give them that and be like, but you are the one that needs to identify, like, what is the 1 or 2 things moving forward that you're going to reassess and help them solve for?
Yeah. Isn't that the same as giving a cue and then not seeing if they do it or not?
Right. And we're all guilty of that. You know, be like, all right, you did it, but I never checked back to see if you fixed it.
Yeah.
And so I think that would help tremendously if you figure out how to do that, which is not hard. You just put them on the calendar. And then for the first month, you let everybody know, like, hey guys, we're just going to do these. I'm going to give you some feedback. We're going to try to pick up on trends, and then we'll create kind of like individual learning plans moving forward, which don't have to be crazy. Hey, your individual plan is like, don't talk so much. Your individual plan is like, you need to move around the group a little bit more so that you can have better group management. Your individual, learning plan is like, you can't see shit. So let's figure out like what's your process for seeing dynamic movement in order to correct it faster.
I'm laughing when you say that, because when I went to that coach's development, that's what Denise Thomas told me after I coached my first class. I thought she was going to be like, oh my God, Eric, you are incredible. I can't believe it. You don't need this. Her first words out of her mouth. She looked at me and she goes, do you always talk that much? And I was like, no, I was actually kind of nervous. I normally talk more than that. So she's like,
keep it simple, under 10 words.
The worst case, a word.
Yeah. So it's stuff like that, right? So that now becomes your job.
Yeah.
Is like, you're going to give them that information, be like, all right, here's what you need specifically. And then if there's certain things that you don't have to do the heavy lifting on, that be like, hey, it would be cool if you took the lesson planning course, because you've clearly never written a lesson plan in your life. Maybe you should do that. So take the course and then let's talk about it. And then
that's actually one of the things that I have them do throughout that thing. Each month there's 2 of those classes that they can take, like, and we pay for them, like the lesson planning, spotting the flaw, those like little online courses. I think some of those are really good.
I think they should be prerequisites for certain in-person courses personally. Okay. So let me ask you a question. If you were to get some of these coaches up to speed or to a better position, how many classes a month could you relieve yourself of and not cause yourself some sort of fallout?
How many would I? Well, to be honest with you, the way I have it set up now, like my Wednesdays and Fridays, I only coach 1 class on those days. So I only have 3 days of the week. So that actually allows me to do that a little bit more. And so what I think the initial game plan going on is like my one coach, she's going to pick up the rest of those on. So I wouldn't coach anything on Wednesdays and Fridays. And be honest with you, that alone, and then possibly getting rid of the Saturdays, you know what I mean? Possibly that alone is enough to free me up where I can, you know what I mean? If there's something that does take more of my time than just in between classes, I can actually get that stuff done.
I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
If you're only coaching 1 class on Wednesdays and Friday, what are you doing with the rest of your day?
Well, so I'm doing that stuff. And then, like, as I told you before, like when I owned one CrossFit, I thought it was great to start another one. And then I thought it was great to open a nonprofit affiliate. So when that wild, remember that wild health thing in CrossFit, we're gonna have this awesome relationship. Well, Wild Health, part of their headquarters is here in Lexington. So that was something that I was familiar with, already on board with it. So like the Wednesday, what takes up a huge part of my time. And then on the Fridays, they have this.
Hold
like
on, go back to that.
program.
I'm not going to let you scream over that. What do you mean that takes a huge chunk of your time? Doing what?
Oh, they have an online coaching, health coaching, which my initial thought was, with the Wild Health is to better integrate your health coach actually as your CrossFit coach. And so I jumped on board with that. And so I do a lot of that.
So you're a health coach for Wild Health on the side.
Well, I'm doing they have a fellowship program that I'm in part of.
Okay. And then what is the end result of finishing the fellowship?
Well, so doing that is integrating, like I would love to see it one day that, like, not only are you a member at our gym, but you're also doing that Wild Health part. And then one of the biggest disconnects that I see with that process right now is the amount of time that those people are going through that Wild Health part with them not seeing their health coach. And my thought was, well, what if your health coach was your coach, your CrossFit coach as well? And that was kind of the envisionment that was sold on that when that original partnership came, and then that kind of fizzled. So, but it's still something I'm interested in doing.
What if I was to propose just putting it off to the side for now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's almost done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, listen, we're all guilty of chasing shiny objects, but sometimes the answer is just don't do so many things.
100%.
You know? And listen, I think I'm allowed to ask these questions because I've been that guy. I've had somebody be like,
and
what are you doing? And I'm like, that's a solid question. Apparently running around with my head up my ass is the answer to that question.
And I appreciate the feedback on stuff like that, because I always say, if like I want to know how great I am, I'll call my mom. You know, if I want to get better, like I legitimately want good feedback.
Don't call my mom. She'll be like, listen, we need to talk about your attitude. My mom is harsh, man. So yes, I think that's the thing that pops out to me. Like, you have 2 days which are essentially off, and my contention would be like, yes, that the Wild Health thing, if you want to pursue that will be there, but like first and foremost is the affiliate. You know, so affiliate first, meaning like that's one of our core values inside of Best Hours. Like everything goes, but like sometimes the box owner. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate you. Someday we're gonna buy Cody something for your $5 donation.
I don't think that's gonna happen.
Not if Ackerman has anything to say.
You see this?
We're trying to make Cody more homeless. I think affiliate owners sometimes need to make sure that like the affiliate is first. And that doesn't mean that they need to be a martyr in that scenario, but like they're doing a bunch of other shit that actually doesn't really benefit the affiliate.
Yeah.
You know, and that could go any number of ways: running competitions, running nonprofits, doing all these other things. And I'm like, that is in no way going to benefit the affiliate in anything that would resemble a reasonable time frame. And it's not that those things are a bad idea. They're out of order.
And wasn't that the point of Ackerman's post about the competition that got everybody's panties in a wad? About the competitions, and his point was, he didn't say it, but I'm assuming his point was, if you don't have everything else dialed in, you have no business running competitions.
Well, these are the same people that are like, I've got to run this competition, and like, but the gym's on fire, and I'm like, then you don't need to run a competition. Like, you need to fix your affiliate. You know, so I would strongly urge you, like, I would encourage you. So let me ask you this. We'll kind of end with this. So you're getting ready to finish this, which means you're going to have a lot of free time available to you.
Yeah.
If I walked into your affiliate, what's the number one thing that I'm going to fix?
Probably a lot along the lines of what we talked about, is like doing the things like the coaches evaluations and taking everything that we're doing and making them better. Like, they're all there. The pieces are there. It's though, like, putting the right people in the right spots, getting them to do what they should be doing, and then not doing it all. Like, handing off programming, handing off the things that can be handed off.
I'm gonna force you into something specific. So one thing that you're gonna do, action step here. It sounds like it's coach evals. So what are you gonna do?
Sure.
What are you gonna do to implement these coach evals?
Get with them and put them on the calendar, just like with what you said. Just, you know what I mean? We're still at kind of the beginning of the month. Put them on the calendar and go from there.
I would also encourage you to like, you should house this somewhere else, which is like, hey, here's the eval, here was the outcome, so that you have a reference point. So like, listen, it's 2023, everybody. You don't need to be writing on loose leaf paper and all sorts of silly shit like that. Transpose that into something electronic so you have some sort of ongoing ledger of this feedback so that you can track it. Otherwise, it's not useful if you can't reference back to it to see if the feedback that you gave them was implemented. You might as well not even have done the feedback.
Yeah.
Right. You know how you fix it's the same thing as an athlete. If I hit Cody 3 or 4 times with the whole push your knees out or pull your ribs down or press up on the barbell, drive your elbows up or whatever, name the cue. By the 3rd time, Cody's just like, bro, I don't want you to call my name anymore. I'm just going to fix my shit. It's the same for coaches' evals. If you want them to fix or you want them to improve, you have to be somewhat of an annoyance with regard to be like, yo, you still haven't fixed that. You ran another class that was off timeline. I'm going to be back here again until you fix it.
Yeah.
That's how coach evals are effective. The frequency has to be at a high enough rate that they actually fix whatever said deficiency is.
Yeah.
So, wow, this comment section has just divulged into complete horse manure. Trish, we're going to get you a counselor. We need to talk. You need to let off some steam and talk about that. So that's what I would encourage you to do, Eric, is go there. Because if you want more time, the first thing you have to do is get off of the floor. Now, then I need to reallocate that time. Right. But the first thing, and when I get off of the floor, I can't make the mistake of just putting anybody on the floor. It needs to be somebody that has earned the right to be on the floor. And if they want to earn that right with me and with the members, I got to do my due diligence on the evals, and everybody's got to see it. Because at that point, you can avoid all the fallout with like, well, you just put Jimmy over here and Jimmy sucks. And I've been around longer than Jimmy. And now this class is no good anymore. And that's how you do it. There's no way around that one. So if you do that, now you can go back and like start to really look at the business strategically, but it starts with like, I need to maintain a quality product on the floor. And you have to go through that cycle once every year. Just really like dive in on the evals and get everybody tightened up.
So people are starting to show up for my 4:30 class, and the knuckleheads are trying to get in behind me. You guys probably can't hear them, but they're all
I can see them back there.
Well, you can see them, and then the rest of them are giggling in the corner.
Okay, real quick, rapid fire. What question can I answer for you?
Wait, I wrote a couple down. I'm trying to think of what the best one. So we're taking that locker room out, and we've done free weeks before with bringing people in.
Okay, got it. That's it. That's easy. Download the Bring a Friend Week mini course if you have not.
Okay. And then, so like my question is like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the offer? You know what I mean? All
of that is in there.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. So download this is for everybody. If you have not downloaded the Bring a Friend Week mini course, this is funny. We were talking at the affiliate summit. We were doing some of the like hot seats, and somebody's just like, I do this Bring a Friend Week thing. And I was like sitting in the group, and I was like, oh, where'd you get it? And they're just like, they have so many questions. I was like, hey, can I chime in here? And they're like, yeah, please. And I was like, I made that. And they're like, what? And I was like, that's literally my baby. I'll tell you anything you want to know about it. But no, download there's a free course, mini course done for you. Download it. It will answer literally all of your questions, how to build the offer, how to run it, programming, what your focus should be, literally why we do every aspect of that and why it works. Download the course. It's yours for free. It will help you tremendously.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Cool. Actually, we're going to send that to you. How about that?
Oh, even better.
Cool. What else? That was a freebie. It was too easy.
Golly, that's probably that was the big one on my radar though.
Okay. Yeah, I think there's a couple pieces of low-hanging fruit there. Start to get like a framework and scheduling for the coach evals. And then play around with something like Slack for coach communication so you can make it a little bit more streamlined by topic.
Yeah.
Right. So it shouldn't just be like a running thread of everybody's fucking discussion points. It should be broken down into like nutrition, client wins, facility maintenance issues, schedule, like whatever. Like, but there should be channels for that.
Cool.
And then it makes everything a little bit more efficient. Actually, it makes things a lot more efficient. So cool. Our time has come to an end, everybody. As always, please, for the love of God, everybody send Trish some love. She needs it today. She's hot and bothered. She's angrier than normal. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you find this valuable, please like, share it with anybody who you think needs it. If you have the opportunity to go to the summits, for the love of God, go to the summits. That way you can voice your opinion. You can ask questions. There will be people high up in the food chain there that you can have a literal face-to-face conversation with them about whatever your gripe is. So if you are not willing to do that, I would tell you, stop your bitching and moaning. But go to those because you will learn something and you'll have the opportunity to potentially solve some problems and give some input and potential solutions for said problems. Outside of that, if you guys want to be on the hot seat, you can hit up Cody and apply for that. We'll get you on the schedule. And sorry, Jonathan, it is only for affiliate owners. We may open it up for non-affiliate owners, but then we would have to totally change the name of the show, and it would not be the affiliate owner hot seat. So unlikely. Outside of that, Eric, it was a pleasure meeting you, man.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you. I appreciate you guys.
Cool. Outside of that, we love you guys. Happy Monday. Best of the week. We'll see you next time.
See you guys.